Okay, so this one's not so much of a happy video since it's hard-boiled love. Senor Pink and Rushin, unfortunately. Yeah. So, where to start with this one? Uh, I I guess I'll just start with the cover page that came out, several weeks ago in regards to the chapter cover page that we got during, the Battle of Onigashima, where we have Frankie and Senor Pink, where they're, sitting and having a drink in a bar, mink bar. So, a lot of people, because of that image, of course, have been talking a lot about, or, some people have been talking about, Senor Pink and Rushin and, their relationship and everything. And that was actually seeing that picture and then, like, explaining the significance of it to my mom made me want to do this series where I talk about the different couples in One Piece. And I'm like, well, like, I can't just skip to Senor Pink and Rushin. As much as I love them, I can't just skip directly to them. So I, went through the list and made the other ones first. And I kind of wanted to do some videos about them anyway. I originally intended to just do them as like one big long video, but I'm like, no, I can turn this into a series. Um, so, yeah. So, we're introduced to Senor Pink. We're introduced to him during the Dressrosa arc. He's an executive of the family. He is this, great fighter and everything in regards to the Colosseum and also in regards to, just, in defending, Dressrosa and everything. And I would say, in regards to, like, my favorite Don Quixote family member, minus Baby Five, I have to say, because like Viola kind of like shifts out of this because she's she wasn't 100% truly loyal to the family, but like Baby Five, and then Senor Pink, because oh, the heartstrings, oh, the feels and the heartstrings. And in the story, when you're reading, and I think when you're also watching in the anime, we get like the resolution to like Kyros and Scarlet and Rebecca against Diamante. Like we get that resolution, and then it just goes kind of like straight into, okay, now you're gonna get the tragic backstory of Senor Pink, this guy that's overweight and swims in the streets and the buildings, and he wears this baby bonnet and has a pacifier and a shirt that says "Let's Baby" and like a diaper, and like he runs around doing dressed that way, perfectly fine with it, and he has these women that just like fawn over him and like that are like in bikinis the entire time and just fawning over him like, Senor Pink, oh, he's so hard boiled, and like you're just watching this going like, what the frick is this? And then like we see him and Frankie fighting, and then we see like this whole the battle of the Smile Factory and everything between him and Frankie, and we see these other moments where we have like Senor Pink tanks hits in order to like protect Mockvice at one point, and like to protect a cat at one point during his fight with Frankie, and like Senor Pink is like taking every hit that like Frankie throws at him, but then Frankie is also taking every hit that like Senor Pink throws at him. They're not dodging each other. They're taking the attacks full on. And we're just getting this very, kind of epic battle that just has like funny names for things like nipple laser lights. Oh god. And diaper bombs and like all this other stuff going on between him and Frankie and everything between the two of them. And like even like the like we have like the dwarves, the Tontadas in the background watching, and like they're rooting for Frankie, but even they're like, yeah, Senor Pink is really hard boiled. And then we have like the women in the bikinis and everything going like, go Senor Pink. Oh, but Frankie, he's kind of awesome too right now, but go Senor Pink. And like they're just going back and forth, and like Senor Pink is even like saying, this I can't do Senor Pink's accent, and I'm not even going to attempt to do it. So they're just like, they're fighting against each other, and like we have like this audience of like the Tontadas rooting for Frankie and the women rooting for Senor Pink, and which is just kind of fun to watch. And like they're just like tanking each other's hits back and forth. And like one of the moments that happens in the battle is like Frankie's just trying to get some distance between them, and he says, oh, I thought I saw this woman over in this alley that looked like she needed help a couple of blocks away. And like Senor Pink just like leaves the battle and goes to like swims through the streets to go and check to make sure there is no woman that's in trouble. And then he swims back to go and fight Frankie. And he's like, well, he lied to me about that, but I was glad that there was no woman in trouble. So back to the fight. And I'm like, okay, is like, in regards to Senor Pink, admittedly, I don't remember if this happens before or after Doflamingo activates the bird cage and like the parasite threads all over the place. I don't know if that is before or after that. But Senor Pink, the way that he seemed to act in regards to that implied that he did very much care about the citizens of Dressrosa. But he seems perfectly okay with the fact that like Don Quixote is basically, you know, going to like shred the entire island and also, you know, allow, you know, innocent civilians to die. I mean, yeah, Senor Pink is an assassin, as are a fair amount of the Dressrosa family, but even I think he draws a line at like wanting to kill kids or wanting to hurt women or wanting to hurt the innocent. He doesn't seem like that's something that he wants to be a part of, but yet all this is going on outside of the factory, and it may just be that like Senor Pink doesn't know that that's exactly what's going on because he's like too busy fighting Frankie. But of course, you know, during the battle and everything, you know, he tells Frankie like right now, he's like, I've got one more attack to deliver to you, and if you can survive it, then I'll take whatever attack you want to throw at me, without dodging or without moving or anything like that. And Frankie's like, I'll take you up on that bet. And, you know, Senor Pink grabs Frankie and he, you know, they like charge at each other. And he grabs Frankie and he like he's like swimming and holding Frankie and like swims out of the building and like swims up through this like building, this other building, and like to the top, and like does this giant suplex throw of Frankie where it's like Frankie gets slammed into the ground. And like, you know, that's a lot of G-force even on like Senor Pink. So he's probably, you know, takes a little bit of like damage in that and of itself that like that's going to affect him as well. And like he's standing there and, you know, then Frankie gets up and he's got like the Terminator eye going on, and he stands up and he's, you know, he's like, okay, I got back up again. Are you ready? And Senor Pink just like stands there, crosses his arms, and he's prepared to take whatever attack Frankie throws at him. And then Frankie starts pummeling him. I don't remember what the name of the attack is that Frankie's using, but he's just like pummeling away at him. And this is where we get like this glimpse into Senor Pink's mind, and he's like, the fists are hitting my face the way that the rain did on the day that you started smiling, and on the day when your smile vanished. And like we just have this moment where, and then we get like the whole flashback where we see him and Rushin. And it starts off with, you know, him standing underneath this awning, and this girl runs up, and like she, you know, she's like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'm all wet, but that's okay. I love the rain. And she's just like happy and smiling, and she smiles at him. And Senor Pink is just like, you know, cue Cupid's arrow, just like, like in love with her instantly. And, you know, so, you know, they go on dates, and he asks her, you know, her likes and her dislikes, and she's like, pirates. Can't stand them. What do you do? And this is obviously during the time frame when he works for the Don Quixote family. This would be before they take over Dressrosa, because if I do remember correctly, he is wearing his, you know, one of the baby outfits when they take over Dressrosa. So that implies that that is after. That Dressrosa takes place after everything that happens between him and Rushin, and then what happens with Gimlet. And what ends up happening is, of course, you know, he's like, I work at a bank. Yes, I work at a bank, and I have to do a lot of traveling for my job, but I work at the bank. Or work at a bank. And he like tells her some bank. And then of course, you know, they date and they fall in love, and, you know, he's very, very happy, and he proposes to her, and, you know, and then, you know, and she's so happy about that, and then they get married, and then, you know, they buy this nice little house that they get to live in, and it's an adorable house, admittedly. And then, like, we get these, like, cuts between, like, him having to go off to be an assassin for the Doflamingo family, and then him coming back, and, like, he's got groceries, and he got, like, a bonnet, and he gives it to her. It's like, I found this bonnet, and I thought maybe it would be really nice for the baby, and, like, we see that she's very pregnant. And, you know, she's like, oh, it'll be adorable on him and everything. And, like, you know, she's just, like, oohing and awing over having a baby. And, you know, he's off on, like, a mission, like, during the time frame when she kind of goes into labor, and he gets to the hospital shortly after she gave birth. And, you know, I think he just kind of plays it off as like, oh, I had to go on this business trip and everything, and I can't derail it and everything, even with you being pregnant. And then, like, but I'll be back in time. And he gets back and everything. And, you know, so he sees, you know, and she had Gimlet. And he's, they name him Gimlet because it's I did not understand this. You know, her name is Russian. It's like a Russian, like a white Russian that is a drink. And then Gimlet is apparently a different type of drink. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is, well, you know, he's very, very happy with Gimlet and with Russian, and they're so happy together. And, like, but we still get this contrast where he's off being this assassin for the Doflamingo family, for the Don Quixote family, and being part of that crew and everything. And then we cut back and, like, we see, like, her, you know, Gimlet and Russian all being happy, and, you know, rose-colored glasses at home, because as far as she's aware, her husband works at a bank and there should be no problem with what's going on at the bank. And then, you know, we cut back and, you know, we still have the three of them happy together. And then we cut back again and Gimlet starts getting sick. And, you know, Senor Pink is off on a mission again. And, you know, Russian takes Gimlet to the hospital, and unfortunately Gimlet dies. And, you know, he dies of this very bad fever. And I said this before in a different video. I think I said this in the Father's Day video or the Mother's Day video, one of the two, where I pointed out the fact of, I don't know if Doflamingo would be happy with the fact that, you know, Senor Pink had a wife and a child outside of the family that he didn't know about. Or if, because it's like, I don't know if it's ever stated whether or not the rest of the family knows about her. I would assume not. But, like, Doflamingo may at least know. You know, Diamante and Treble don't seem to have any idea about her, but Doflamingo might. And I've made this comment before, and I don't know if Doflamingo would quite go this far, but either if he was willing to go this far, it wouldn't surprise me, or if that was where he drew the line, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know, because it would involve, like, his family, because, like, when it comes to his family members, particularly the executives, and the higher up ones that have been there for so long, he's fairly protective of them. But, you know, so he, you know, it's either this is outside of the perimeter of what he would do, or it's the exact thing that he would do. And he may have been the one to find a way to get Gimlet sick. And maybe it was not his intention for Gimlet to die, but, like, get Gimlet sick and then tell Doflamingo, and then tell, you know, Senor Pink, hey, your son's sick. I have a remedy for it. You do what I want you to do, and I'll give you the remedy. And, you know, you break everything off with your wife, and you come back with us, or you tell her, and she's now a part of the family as well. So it's like it's all under the one roof, or you never see them again because it drags you away from the family. I don't know, since that's never 100% stated one way or the other. It's just Gimlet gets sick. Russian takes him to the hospital. He gets sicker. And then she tries calling the bank to try to find out where Senor Pink is, and he's not there. He's never worked there. And then she finds out that he's been lying to her this whole time, and unfortunately Gimlet does die. And, you know, he gets back, and he finds out that Gimlet passed away, and, like, we have it raining on that day, too. You know, it was raining on the day that they met. It's raining on this day when he finds out that Gimlet died. And, you know, Russian gets very, very angry at him, and she's like, what do you do? You're not a banker, so where have you been all this time? Where do you keep going, and where does the money come from? And he explains that he is a pirate. And she slaps him. And, you know, rightfully so. The dog did not care. And, you know, she slaps him, and then she runs out of the house. And, you know, he tries to stop her, but she just keeps running. And, you know, it's just storming and raining and everything. And he's running after her, trying to find her. And, you know, what ends up, you know, unfortunately, she ends up getting caught in a landslide. And this puts her into a vegetative state, and Senor Pink goes to the hospital, and he sees her there, and she's just sitting there, blank-faced, nothing, like no eye movement, nothing, just blank-faced. And she's, connected to, machines and everything that are monitoring her and keeping her alive. Apparently, at least in this area, I would assume that this is in the North Blue, since that's where they came from. I would assume that this just means that, like, certain areas of the One Piece world have higher, better medical technology, particularly if you have the money to afford it, of course. You can afford better, medicine and technology and everything like that, as opposed to, like, in, like, Fuchsia Village, where it's like, maybe not so much, but here it seems to be fairly good. Plus, Senor Pink has, money from being part of the Don Quixote family, being part of the pirates, so he would be more than capable of being able to pay for any hospital bills or doctor bills or anything like that. And he just goes in and he sees her and he just breaks down. He just breaks down crying and cries on her bed. And then, he comes and talks to her, and like we see like the seasons change, and it's just, oh God, it hurts to watch. And the doctors are like, she's never going to be normal again unless like a miracle happens or something. Unfortunately, we don't get a miracle. And what ends up happening is Rushin, still no reactions out of her. He sits and he talks to her for like hours on end, brings her flowers, and then one day he's walking by a baby clothes store and he sees a bonnet that looked exactly like the one that he had bought for Gimlet before he was born. And he buys it and he goes and he puts it on and he goes and sees her at the hospital, and he's like, hey, Rushin, I found this bonnet that looks like, Gimlet's, and you said that he looked a lot like me, so, maybe I can, maybe I look like him or so. And, during this whole time frame, during this whole flashback sequence, out in the real world, Frankie is just, continuously beating up on him, while he's remembering all of this. And so we keep cutting back and forth between that, but, Senor Pink says that the thing that he loved most about Rushin was her smile. And, she just, she's still this blanked face, nothing. Like, doesn't even blink as far as we're aware. Just sits there, nothing. She's, tube fed and everything, I would assume. And what ends up happening is he's like, yeah, like he's wearing the bonnet. Yeah, that was kind of a stupid idea. And he goes to untie it. And then he looks over and he sees that she's smiling. Just like kind of smiling. And then that just leads to him wearing the bonnet, finding a shirt, getting a pacifier, finding the diaper thing. And he continues to wear that with, bring flowers for her every time he goes and visits her. And, he gets ridiculed when he walks down the street by everyone. It's like, oh, look at that pervert. Oh, look at that weirdo. Or look at that, crazy man. Oh, look at that, weird person. All this stuff, like, just, hey, dude, nice outfit. Just, like, laughing at him again and again and again. And, like, but he doesn't care, because when he shows up, she's smiling when she's looking at him. There's no other, like, mental response or anything, but she's smiling. And that's, he keeps bringing her flowers, and, she keeps smiling, and he sits and talks to her and everything. And, he had all of these nice suits that he used to wear, and then he just, like, shows up at the Doflamingo, at the Don Quixote family place, wearing, the baby suit, and, like, Treble and Diamante just start laughing at him like, oh my God, Senor Pink, hey Pink, whatever happened to your sense of style? What are you wearing? And everything. And he's just like, well, he just like goes off and he wears it. And we see him wearing those clothing during the, that clothing during when they go to take over Dressrosa. So it takes place during that same time frame. I don't think we ever get an exact date time. We know that the Dressrosa takeover happened 10 years ago. I don't remember if we ever get an exact time frame for when Gimlet died and when Rushin went into her vegetative state. But I would assume that given the fact that I think the whole time that Law is with the Doflamingo family, the Don Quixote family, I think Senor Pink is in his suits the entire time. So it would have to be that it shifts between the time when before Corazon and Law leave, when Corazon takes Law and they leave, and then when Dressrosa happens. So it must take place within that time frame. I don't remember the exact distant time, the exact length of time that happens between that, but I don't remember that off the top of my head. But it must take place within that time frame. But he just starts wearing all of those, the shirt and the bonnet and the pacifier and the diaper and everything, and he continues to just drink and drink and drink. And he starts putting on more weight and everything, obviously. And then at some point in that time frame is when Rushin passed away, when she finally died from when she entered the vegetative state. And Senor Pink, and like that would just break his heart. And therefore he just devotes himself fully to the Doflamingo family, to the Don Quixote family, to Doflamingo and all of that, to the pirates. And he goes all in there, but he continues to wear the outfit and all that stuff. And because he's just doing him, everyone just thinks he's so awesome. Kind of is awesome once you kind of get the whole concept of what he is, and like he is like these rules, like a gentleman would never look at a woman with more longing than he would look at his girlfriend, or like the only time a man should lay his hands on a woman is when he's helping her zip up her dress, or whatever the case may be. Like he spits out all of these different lines and everything, and like there's like rules to being a gentleman, and this is the way that he works and everything. And like we cut back to when Frankie is still punching him out, and Senor Pink's glasses get broken in this time frame, and he's Frankie beat him and he's lying on the ground, and like Senor Pink has like tears coming out of his eyes, and Frankie is like, what you crying about, type thing. And like Frankie reaches down and he like wipes away Senor Pink's tears and everything. And Senor Pink had made a mention of like Rushin some point during their battle, or like when he like grabbed Frankie and was like running him up to do the giant suplex thing, or seismic toss, basically. You're Senor Pink, you seismic toss on the enemy's Frankie. Pokemon reference. And Senor Pink then just he like said something about like a wife and son, Rushin and Gimlet and everything. He said something about that. And Frankie wipes away his tears and everything, and he's like, Frankie walks away and he's like, if we should ever cross paths again, this is a quote at the end of the video, let's share some drinks and you can tell me about that woman named Rushin. And this is where we get, this is where the cover page comes into play. And of course, like the ending of this is, Frankie won the battle against Senor Pink of the Smile Factory, and he's perfectly, he won, and then he goes back to the Smile Factory, and, the Tontadas go do something, but like Frankie just kind of faints, because he wore himself out fighting Senor Pink. But there's this respect between the two of them. Whereas counter to that, we have currently, Frankie just, at the time when I'm recording this, Frankie just fought Sasaki, the triceracopter thing, which just made me laugh so hard when I saw that in the chapter. Triceratops cannot fly; they are not helicopters. That's not the way that their shields work. But we get that fight, and that's a very different fight. I mean, like Frankie and some of the other fights that he's had to do over the years, like he never really ended up coming out with a lot of respect for the person that he fought on the other side of the battle. Senor Pink was the exception to that rule for the most part. For the battles that we've seen Frankie have over the years, Senor Pink was the exception for that rule. I would assume that he maybe gained some respect for like Bartholomew Kuma after like he found out that Kuma had guarded the Thousand Sunny during the 2-year time frame when the straw hats were separated and everything while it sat at Sabaody, Frankie may have been like respectful of him for that, but even though he's the one that split them all up, but like Senor Pink was the one that Frankie had this respect for by the end of the fight, and even partway through the fight is where he got his respect for him. But of course, like the cover page was, Frankie and Senor Pink share a drink, and he tells him about Rushin while they're at like Hio's bar, and Hio is looks to be like a mink of some kind, so they'd be having a drink on Zoe. Senor Pink, as far as we're aware, is probably currently in Impel Down, along with Doflamingo and along with a lot of the other Don Quixote pirates that are there. So like Giola and Diamante, if he's alive, and Trouble, and Pika and Gladius and like Lao G and Dellinger, and the other ones that were part of the executives, not Baby Five because she went off to go be with Psy and everything, but the other ones are all there. And they're probably all down there, and Senor Pink might be down there as well. And unless like Doflamingo breaks out, if he breaks out, he might like take like his family with him because they're his family. Mockvice would also be in Impel Down as well if that's where the rest of them are. But if Doflamingo escapes, he might take them with him, and then it might be that like Senor Pink and Frankie do see each other again, and they, instead of fighting against each other, maybe Senor Pink helps him. I don't know. That would be fun to watch the two of them team up, like their wrestling moves against like people at the same time. That would be fun to watch. But I don't know if we're ever really gonna get, see them again. I mean, yeah, I would love to see it if like Frankie and Senor Pink actually do get the chance to sit and have a drink and talk. And yeah, Frankie would be bawling his eyes out at that story with like Senor Pink. They're bawling his eyes out too. Like whoever the bartender is, like maybe they do have it on Zoe. Maybe that's where they do have that drink, or maybe they have it in like Water 7 and like it's at the bar where like Kiwi and Mizu are, where they run the bar that was Bruno's bar and now their bar. And maybe it's that, they're there, and, like, the two sisters are, like, off to the side just, like, bawling their eyes out too, like, oh, my God, why? Like, just, like, the rest of the Frankie families around them. Just, like, they're all just, like, crying, like, tears streaming down their faces. They listen to this story about, Senor Pink and his family and his wife and his son and everything, like, everything that happened with that. But I would like it if Senor Pink showed back up again. He has the possibility of maybe being an ally, given how much the respect that him and Frankie had for each other by the end of their fights. So there's that possibility, but I don't 100% know. We'll see what happens with that. The dog moved. Thankfully, we're at the end of the video anyway. So the next video would probably be, I think the video after this one is going to be like Big Mom's Children, as in like, Aladdin and Praline, Chiffon and Beige, and Lola and Gotti, because those are the 3 other couples that we know about in her family. Talk a little bit about like, Lin and Pound in regards to their relationship, but mostly just like those 3, the 3 daughters and who they married. Pudding and Sanji will probably get mentioned, but since they didn't actually get married, and we don't actually know if like Sanji, like Pudding's feelings for Sanji are reciprocated at this point in time. We'll see what happens with that. But then after that, it should be like the Wano couples. But we'll see what happens with that. Hi, are you going to move around a little bit? I'm just about finished. You're fine. Yes, I am. You want to come up here and you can say goodbye to him? Up. I mean, I just get on bed again. This is what he does all day long. He'll be like, okay, I'm going to go lay on this bed. And then he'll go and lay down in my mom's room. And, like, stare at out that window for a while. And then he'll, like, move to a different area of the bed. And then he'll come in here and lay down. And then if my door was open, he'd go into my room. And, like, he'll stare out this window that we have here. And then, like, we have, he'll come down and lay down on one of the chairs downstairs, or the floor, or the rug, or a different area of the rug, or whatever. So, will you make up your mind about where you want to go? Oh, the life of a dog. Oh, the life of a pet, of a dog that lives in a nice home. Yes, you get lots and lots of attention. I know you do. So, that's what we have for this for Senor Pink and Rushin. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sure it probably tugged at your heartstrings a bit, but I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. Seriously. If we should ever cross paths again, let's share some drinks, and you can tell me about that woman named Rushin.